Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today at the inaugural press conference of the International Council for Men and Boys. I'm Larry DeMarco, our executive manager, and we're here to talk about the important issues affecting men and boys worldwide and to start our efforts toward achieving true sex equality. First, I want to acknowledge that for many years, resources have been rightly focusing on addressing women's issues. Women have faced many challenges that affected their rights and ability to fully participate in society. In some countries, women still face severe challenges like child marriage, female genital mutilation, and restrictive dress codes such as mandatory hijabs. These issues are critical, and the global community has done a lot to address them. However, the longstanding disparities that affect men and boys, like education, health, and many other areas, have been largely ignored. These disparities are especially troubling for minority men who face even greater challenges. Men are falling behind in education, experiencing higher rates of suicide, workplace fatalities, homelessness, and facing biases in the legal and criminal systems. These issues have severe impacts not just on men, but on society as a whole. ICMB is proud to lead the emerging global movement to address 12 areas of male disadvantage, and they can be found on our website, menandboys.net. And they are education, health, suicide, homelessness, false allegations, parental alienation, violence, criminal system biases, intimate partner violence, boys issues, workplace safety, reproductive rights, and media portrayals. Achieving equality for men will also benefit women. When men are healthy, well-educated, and fairly treated, they can be better partners, fathers, and contributors to their communities, making society better for everyone. We invite other groups and individuals who share our goal to sign up on the homepage of our website and join the wave. By joining, you'll receive our newsletter with updates on our efforts and have the opportunity to participate in planning sessions for Men's Equality Month. Your involvement in these planning sessions and participation will be crucial in achieving equality for men and boys. This November and all following Novembers, we will be celebrating Men's Equality Month, a key initiative aimed at raising awareness and pushing for equality changes to address these disadvantages. We encourage everyone to get involved and support our mission for a fairer society. Please visit our website to learn more. Today's press conference will feature a series of esteemed speakers who are experts in their fields. They'll share insights into the various issues affecting men and boys and discuss actionable solutions. After all their presentations, we will reserve time for a Q&A where you can engage directly with our speakers and ask any questions you might have. Thank you once again for being here today and for your commitment to sex equality. Together, we can make a difference and work towards a future where both men and women have the opportunity to thrive. Our first speaker will be Warren Farrell from the United States in the state of California. His title, The Boy Crisis. That is item number 3, boys, and item number 6, parenting, on our website. Dr. Farrell has been chosen by the Financial Times of London as one of the world's top 100 thought leaders. His books are published in 19 languages, and they include the New York Times bestseller, Why Men Are the Way They Are, and the international bestseller, The Myth of Male Power. Dr. Farrell presented the findings from his book, The Boy Crisis, worldwide, from the White House to the Norwegian Parliament. It was a catalyst for bipartisan legislation for father involvement in Florida. And here is Warren.
Hi, I'm Warren Farrell, and I'm the author of The Boy Crisis. And I started my research on the boy crisis about 20 some odd years ago. And when I first proposed it to the publisher, I said, I'm going to look at 10 major causes or contributors to the boy crisis. And after about 15 years of research, I ended up with realizing that I had explanations for those other contributors to the boy crisis, but I saw that more than in any other way, the boy crisis resides where dads do not reside. And I saw that when fathers are not involved with their family, boys, that is the single biggest predictor of boys committing suicide. I saw that when boys and girls are 9 years of age, they rarely commit suicide and do it equally. But between the ages of 10 and 14, boys' suicide rate is twice that of girls. Between the ages of 15 and 19, it is 4 times that as girls. Between the ages of 20 and 25, it is 5 times that of girls. But it's almost a very high percentage of boys who have minimal amount of father involvement, or what I call dad deprived. I don't think no boy or girl is fatherless. That's why I call it dad deprived. And so then I started looking more closely and saw that the prediction of a lack of father to commit suicide is only as being the single biggest predictor of suicide was only one of 70 different metrics in which boys and girls do considerably worse without their dads. One of those metrics is addiction to video games. Another is addiction to drugs. Another is death from overdose of drugs. Another is mass shootings. We often say mass shootings are a result of poor family values or guns being in the home and so on. And guns being in the home is an important contributor, but even more important is the fact that it's not girls committing suicide. Girls have all the guns in the home. They have the same family values. They have the same exposure to TV. It is the fact that the people who commit suicide, especially via mass shootings, and do it especially in school shootings, those are predominantly A, boys, and B, boys who are dad deprived. When I ran for governor of California and I spoke to multiple prison populations, I started asking the prison populations, how many of you were raised with an involved father? 5-10% raised their hands that they were. 90 or so percent raised their hands that they weren't. These prisoners came up to me afterwards and they said, when you told me how important fathers are, for the first time in my life, I wanted to live. I felt I could contribute something to the family. That was not, I felt I was worthless. But when you talked to me about how useful I could be with the family, now I want to get home and make sure I prevent my children from making the same mistakes that I made. I feel like I'm of value. These were guys with muscles twice the size that I'll ever have, with tattoos, with tears in their eyes. And it was just very powerful to me to see how when dads are told they are needed, they become like soldiers that are told in each generation's war that you are needed to prevent this country from falling under Nazi rule. And what do men do when we're told we're needed? We go out there and we're willing to kill and be killed. But now we're asking fathers to love and be loved. And we need to say to the world that the involvement of dads is a 3-party issue. It is helpful to the children beyond what we had ever suspected. It is also a woman's issue. We don't want women to have to be able to feel overwhelmed by raising children while they're trying to do a job, and they often feel like, I can't do that job well enough to be happy with what I'm doing. I can't raise the children well enough to be happy with what I'm doing. Women need fathers' involvement. But the most important thing I discovered is that the reason that dads don't get involved very frequently is they don't feel needed, but they also don't understand the differences between what dads contribute to the parenting process and what moms contributed to the parenting process. So, for example, dads are far more likely to roughhouse, tease, encourage risk-taking, but very few dads say, sweetie, meaning my wife, I would like to roughhouse with the kids. And by the way, among the things that kids will get from the way my roughhousing style is they'll get to think of their brother and sister, because their brother and sister may get hurt. And when they get hurt, I'll stop the roughhousing until I teach them the difference between being aggressive versus being assertive. And therefore, I'll teach them to think of their brothers and their sisters' needs, not just their needs. And then cite the data about how when dads roughhouse, the children become more empathetic. Well, the average father doesn't go ahead and say, I want to roughhouse because it'll teach the children to be more empathetic. It's like the most counterintuitive thing you can think of. But also the roughhousing leads to postponed gratification, because when the father says you'll lose the roughhousing, the kids respond like a doggy does when it knows it doesn't get the treat unless it behaves in a certain way. And the dad is saying, if you're going to stick your elbow in your sister or brother's eye, we're going to stop the roughhousing. So therefore, we're going to stop the treat. And even though you'd like to push your brother or sister away in order to win at the roughhousing, you don't have the option to if you want that treat of the roughhousing. Therefore, what the child is learning is postponed gratification. And postponed gratification is the single biggest predictor of success or failure. And so if you read any part of the Boy Crisis book, particularly focus on the contributions that dads make to the family, but especially the differences between dad-style parenting and mom-style parenting, and how it contributes to postponed gratification, how it contributes to empathy, how it contributes to boys and girls both being able to know the difference between being assertive and aggressive, understand what the unique contributions of dads are, but then instead of talking to the mother about this in a way that says, I'm superior, I ask you to talk to the mother about it and say, here's the contributions I make, and also respect the contributions that moms tend to make. Moms very often, when they say, will say something like, no, sweetie, you can't climb on that tree. It's too dangerous. Maybe later in your life you can. And the dad will say, well, you can climb the tree, but be careful. Mom's right. That it's dangerous. But the checks and balance parenting, which is what is really needed, is where dads and moms work together to be able to say, you can climb the tree, okay, but not above this level. And you can climb the tree if your dad is willing to be out there underneath the tree to protect you from being killed if you fall out of the tree. And dad gets to say to mom, when the child climbs the tree and takes risks and decides which risks are worth taking and which risks are not worth taking, a few things happen. Number one is their IQ increases because their neurons are connecting in uncomfortable in ways that haven't been trained to connect, so that the children learn to decide what risk is worth taking and what risk isn't worth taking. And the children are getting to learn those decisions while they have parents around, not be protected all their life and then suddenly go out into a world being unprotected. So there's so much what I call checks and balance parenting, that children that do best in life have this checks and balance parenting. This is a worldwide issue. This is why I'm so glad that this is becoming an international group that is being formed. And so I can't think of anything better than to bring this issue to the world. It's one of the greatest contributions we can make to our children. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Dr. Farrell. Our next speaker is Ann Silvers from Seattle, Washington, United States. The title of her talk will be Abuse of Men by Women. It happens and it hurts. On our website, her focus is on item number 8, partner abuse. Ann Silvers is a private practice counselor in Seattle. She's the author of 16 self-help books on emotions, communication skills, and partner abuse, including abuse of men by women. It happens and it hurts. And it's time to get real about it. Anne.
Can't hear you, Ann.
You're muted, okay? Start again.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm going to address 3 myths about abuse of men by women. And that is myth number 1, it doesn't happen. Myth number 2, it isn't that bad. And myth number 3, it doesn't hurt. So myth number 1, that it doesn't happen. Abuse is driven by 3 motivations: to control, demean, or punish. Partner abuse can happen in any gender configuration, including female to male. And there's 7 forms of partner abuse: physical, verbal, sexual, financial, legal or administrative, spiritual, and then a category I put together, emotional and psychological. All of these forms of partner abuse can happen in any gender configuration. Sometimes there's a lot of similarity between those configurations, and then there's some uniqueness depending on the makeup of the couple. That it doesn't happen is proven, that it does happen is proven by some statistics that we've had over the years that have gotten not a lot of attention. One of the most profound is the American Center for Disease Control. And there have been several of these reports over the years, the most recent being 2022. So just a couple of years ago. And it's based on a very large phone survey about violence. And what they found is that there are basically equal numbers of men on the receiving end of intimate partner violence and women on the receiving end. So the statistic they came up with was 1 in 2 for women, 1 in 2 for men. And they broke it down. So we have psychological aggression, 1 in 2 for men, 1 in 2 for women. Physical violence from an intimate partner, same thing. 1 in 2 men, 1 in 2 women. And what they call contact sexual violence, physical violence, or stalking. Again, 1 in 2, 1 in 2. When they took a look at it, when it was actually just, those were lifetime that I just talked about. When they look at the last year, they actually found that there were more men than women who were on the receiving end of physical violence from a partner. So it was 4.5% for women, 5.5% for men. The second myth is that it's not that bad. It isn't, and it's another way that people discount and make it unimportant that men can be abused by women. And the same report, the CDC report, when they looked at the last year, they also took a look at severe physical violence in the last year, and basically the same number of men were on the receiving end of severe physical violence as were women. And so it was 3.1% for women, 3.0% for men, basically the same. And what they categorized as severe violence included hitting with a fist or something hard, kicked, hurt by pulling hair, slammed against something, tried to hurt by choking or suffocating, beaten, burned, used a knife, or used a gun. So again, equal numbers of men compared to women. And then I want to tackle that it doesn't hurt. It does hurt. We have this myth about men that they are impervious to pain. They are not. And we have research done by Ann Quaker and her colleagues on the impact of intimate partner violence from when it's happening to men and when it's happening to women, and they found similar results that for both men and women, physical violence from a partner resulted in poor health, depressive symptoms, substance use, chronic disease, mental illness, and injury. Psychological IPV also had a negative impact on the physical and mental health of both men and women. I get into this a whole lot more and give you the research links and sources in a post that I just put up this morning on my website, annsilvers.com. No E on Ann. I put the link into the Zoom chat. I don't know if that's going to be seen by everybody, but if you go to annsilvers.com and you click on the blog, it'll populate there, or if it's sometime later, put into the search bar, It Hurts, and the blog post will come up. Thank you.
And thank you for that and the work that you do. Our next speaker is Danica Joan Dockery from Florida, United States. The title of her talk is Kids Need Both Parents, and she'll be talking about item number 6, parenting. Danica has dedicated her life to empowering families to navigate conflict and emerge stronger. After breaking free from a dysfunctional marriage in 2001, she faced a tumultuous 5-year custody battle, but remained steadfast in her commitment to her children's future. Armed with a Master of Education and certifications as a family mediator, guardian ad litem, and parenting coordinator, Danica is a beacon of hope for families in crisis. As the founder of Kids Need Both, Inc., she champions co-parenting and familial harmony, ensuring every child thrives in a loving environment. And here's Danica.
Fellow advocates, I'm Danica Joan Dockery, and it's an honor to be a presenter at the inaugural conference for the International Council for Men and Boys. Today, I'm excited to delve into the critical work we do at Kids Need Both, Inc. and our strategic partnership network, Hope for Families. Kids Need Both, Inc. is dedicated to supporting families navigating the challenges of child custody conflicts. Our mission is to provide education, empowerment, and professional development to foster harmonious and sustainable family relationships. One of the cornerstones of our organization is our ethical requirement and pledge. Every strategic partner joining Hope for Families signs this pledge, committing to uphold our values of integrity, compassion, and dedication to family welfare. This ensures that all our efforts are aligned with the highest standards of ethical conduct. We host bi-monthly meetings for our partners, fostering a collaborative environment where ideas and strategies are shared. These meetings are crucial for keeping everyone aligned and inspired, and they provide an excellent opportunity for networking and professional growth. Our collaborative projects, such as our book project, is a testament to the collective wisdom of our community. These projects allow us to share valuable insights and experiences, offering guidance and support to families and professionals alike. Through our publications, we aim to amplify our impact and reach a broader audience. One of our significant contributions is the development and production of court-ordered classes, such as our co-parenting class, parenting class, anger management, and pro se courses. These classes are designed to provide practical tools and strategies for parents, helping them navigate their responsibilities and emotions effectively. Our programs are state certified and available both in person and online, ensuring accessibility for all. Our website platform, hopeforfamilies.net, serves as a comprehensive resource hub. It connects families with experts, provides access to our educational materials, and facilitates community support. The platform is user-friendly and continuously updated to meet the evolving needs of our members. We are also involved in various other projects aimed at supporting families and professionals. These include webinars, podcasts, and community advocacy initiatives. Each project is designed to empower individuals and create a positive impact on family dynamics. The outdated narrative that children should only have one primary parent does a disservice not only to men, but also to the children who benefit immensely from having actively engaged fathers. Parenting is not a solitary endeavor. It is a partnership. Co-parenting, especially after a separation or divorce, requires cooperation, communication, and a shared commitment to the well-being of the children. In my journey, I have seen firsthand the transformative power of effective co-parenting. After navigating a tumultuous custody battle, I learned that the key to successful co-parenting is putting the needs of the children first, above all else. Research consistently shows that children thrive when they have strong, healthy relationships with both parents. They do better academically, emotionally, and socially. They develop a sense of security and self-worth that serves them well throughout their lives. Therefore, promoting gender equality in parenting is not just about fairness for fathers. It is about giving our children the best possible foundation for their futures. However, achieving this balance is not without its challenges. Men often face systemic biases in family courts where outdated stereotypes can influence custody decisions. Fathers who are striving to be present and involved can find themselves marginalized, fighting an uphill battle to secure their rightful place in their children's lives. This is why organizations like the ICMB and initiatives focused on parental alienation and false allegations are so crucial. They shine a light on these injustices and advocate for systemic change. As we advocate for gender equality, we must also address the societal perceptions that hinder progress. We need to celebrate and support fathers who take an active role in parenting. This means recognizing their contributions, providing resources and education to help them succeed, and challenging the stigmas that prevent them from fully engaging in their children's lives. In closing, I want to emphasize that promoting gender equality in parenting is a collective effort. It requires the collaboration of policymakers, educators, advocates, and families. Together, we can create a world where fathers are recognized and supported as equal partners in parenting, where boys grow up knowing that nurturing and caregiving are not solely the domain of women, and where every child has the opportunity to thrive in a loving and supportive environment. Thank you for your dedication to this cause and for the opportunity to share my insights with you today. Let us continue to work together to ensure fairness and equality for all men, boys, and fathers, and to build a brighter future for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Danica. Incidentally, I am also a member of the Hope for Families Network. Our next speaker is Dawn Dural. She is from the United States and the state of Hawaii, and the title of her talk is When Innocence is Lost at the Hands of False Allegations. And she'll be talking about item number 4 on our website, false allegations. Dawn's the vice president for the Advocates of the Falsely Accused. She has an extensive experience in operational and program management and an unwavering commitment to help overturn a wrongful conviction. Dawn mobilized the support from The Hawaii Innocence Project and her tireless efforts not only brought attention to her husband's case, but also sparked broader conversations about the flaws within the justice system. Dawn.
Good morning from Hawaii. I'm Dawn Dural, and I'm going to share a story that addresses the disparity men face with false accusations. For the past 21 years, I've been fighting the state of Hawaii with my husband, Ronis Dural, in a case where Ronis's innocence was lost at the hands of a false accusation that resulted in a wrongful conviction. To give you a little bit of history so you can understand the impact that a wrongful conviction has had on Ronis and our family and our drive to keep fighting, let me share a bit about him and what transpired, changing life as we knew it. Ronis, a Black man, grew up in Louisiana and was raised by his mother, Hattie Mae Hill, a civil rights activist who marched and fought for the civil rights movement, even putting her life on the line. At the young age of 17 years old, Hattie Mae was attacked and hit in the head by a large metal object that was thrown from a slingshot. While she was being rushed to safety, a white mob continued trying to attack her in their attempt to kill her. Although this happened to her, it did not sway her to stop her fight. Instead, she continued fighting for what was right, setting the example for her children. Let's fast forward to 1993. Ronis was fresh out of high school. He joined the United States Navy, where he spent the next 10 years of his life, a career that he enjoyed, he was dedicated to, and one that he took an oath to serve and protect. He was on a fast track as he made rank at each opportunity. On his evaluations, his superiors said he didn't meet the standards. Instead, he set them. In 2003, this was abruptly destroyed by a false accusation by the daughter of an ex-girlfriend who led her mother to believe Ronis was the person she was having sex with when she thought she was pregnant and didn't want to disclose to her mother who the real perpetrators were. Her mother named several individuals, her stepfather being named first, to which she stated no. When Ronis's name was mentioned after several other names, the accuser stopped responding, leading her mom to believe it was him. Her mom went to the police, and from there, the false accusation continued as the girl was determined to hide whom she was really sexually involved with. Not long after the accusation was made, the mother and stepfather caught the girl having sex with her stepfather's best friend. This was disclosed to the prosecution prior to the indictment. However, the prosecutor took this story and misled the grand jury to believe that it was Ronis. Let's fast forward again. The stepfather with the accuser confesses his love for his stepdaughter to the wife prior to the start of Ronis's trial. This information was shared with the prosecution, who told the girl's mother not to mention it during the trial and to stick to only what they knew at the time of the accusation, not what they learned later. Again, misleading the jury to believe the girl was involved with Ronis when indeed she was not. Fast forward to 2009, the girl and Ronis both submitted to polygraph exams with the world-renowned specialist Jack Tremarco. Ronis's exam showed complete truth with a +10. The girl, complete deception with a -8. During her interview with Tremarco, she confessed that the person she was involved with was her stepfather. 5 weeks after Ronis's conviction, the accuser at the age of 16 married her stepfather's best friend, who was 29 years old. Both the stepfather and the best friend admitted in sworn declarations and testified under oath to sexually assaulting the girl during the time frame that Ronis was accused and convicted for. The state of Hawaii was fully aware that Ronis was innocent, however, chose to continue fighting to hold the conviction, even to the extent of letting 2 admitted sexual predators walk free. One, a local white man, the other, a local Hawaiian man. It took 16 years to get Ronis exonerated and his name cleared. In January of 2020, he was finally exonerated, his record expunged, his name and face removed from the sex offender registry. However, it doesn't end there. Ronis's military career was ruined. He was ripped away from his family, and although he's free and exonerated and has returned to the family, justice is still missing. The state of Hawaii refuses to accept responsibility for the wrongful conviction. His attorney's actions after his exoneration resulted in legal malpractice, damaging his case against the state of Hawaii, the accuser, and the actual perpetrators. And now we're fighting to find an attorney who's willing to take on the legal malpractice case, because all attorneys here in Hawaii either work together or for each other. So there's a conflict of interest, or they feel threatened to attempt a case against another lawyer. 21 years later, and we're still dealing with the injustices that are caused by a false accusation. The state of Hawaii has a compensation law in place. However, they make it impossible for any exoneree to receive it because they require a judge state that the individual is factually innocent. a person being exonerated and the conviction being thrown out, it's not enough. If there's no conviction, if the person's exonerated, are they not innocent? This must change. They've had to fight for their freedom. They shouldn't have to fight for compensation too. False accusations bring such heavy burdens on the individuals, their families, and the community. The lack of integrity and desire to do the right thing in the justice system screams for a need for system reform. The lack of accountability upon prosecutors and judges and those in authority, as well as those who bring the false accusations, is a problem that must be addressed. The only way to prevent any future instances of such devastation is to draw awareness and demand change. We have organizations like the Advocates for the Falsely Accused, where we provide support to those enduring such devastating challenges, and Exonerated Nation, who help exonerates to help get the support they need when returned to society. But we need numbers. We need more in this fight for justice and to end false accusations and wrongful convictions. Only then will we see changes in the system. Thank you.
Dawn, thank you for sharing that. Our next speaker is Odette van Rensburg from South Africa. The title of her presentation is False Accusations Don't Always Get Reported to Authorities. She'll also be talking about item number 4 on our website, False Allegations. Odette is an independent documentary filmmaker based in South Africa and owns Dog on the Run with Eric Goss. Their films include Men 2, Domestic Violence Against Men, Disconnected, which is a documentary on suicide, and The Bonfire of Agreed Terms, also about false allegations. And here's Odette. Here we go. Uh-oh. Give me one other moment.
If you need me to do it, I can.
Well, I have another one. Let's see if this works.
Okay.
Okay, I have you. If you want to do it, you can. I now have it queued up. It's your call, though.
Okay. Let me just try and put the video on.
If you can, I got your back.
Okay. Can you see me okay?
Certainly
And
can.
hear me okay? All right, here we
can.
go. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about false accusations from a mother's perspective. The accusation does not need to go to the authorities or the courts to destroy the lives of the person accused or their families. We know that false accusations are used as a weapon, be it through divorce proceedings, often encouraged by lawyers, and often too in regret sex, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. I had warned my teen boys about sex without consent long before they were even interested in sex. My sons knew. When my eldest son was 15, a month before he turned 16 during lockdown, we were at home, I was working, and his friend, let's call her P, came to visit. As usual, they went down to his room, and as usual, when she left, P hugged me and said goodbye. Nothing was different. 2 days later, P posted in their friends group that my son had sexually assaulted her. Sexually assaulted sounds like rape to anyone who hears it. It was late at night when my son came into my room. I was already in bed. It's a night we both will never forget. He told me of the accusation. I asked him to go through the day step by step. They had had drinks, which are non-alcoholic, and then they started making out, which included kissing and touching outside the clothing. They had stopped, chatted, and then an hour later they continued. Not once did she say stop or I don't like this, and of course he was fumbling as he was inexperienced. The allegation was made and she was immediately believed. The first thing that happened was everyone blocked my son from all communication. When he tried connecting with his closest friends, they refused to have any contact with him. On his 16th birthday, it was just spent with our family. We had held parties for his friends before for their 16th, and now no one wanted to be near him. I had my son on suicide watch. My outdoor son would not leave his room. He wouldn't eat. He hid away, and it felt like someone had died in our family. Nobody wanted to talk to me about this. If I brought it up, even now, we are excluded and isolated. Nobody wants to talk about this. 2 to 3 months later, I saw P. She was with my son's ex-friends, and I approached them. She asked me how I was, completely oblivious, and she'd obviously forgotten about what she had said and the impact it had had on my son. I told her my son was devastated of the allegation and that I wanted to have a meeting with her mother and that I was going to make it happen. I hadn't even gone to the car, and P had started messaging me, asking me not to tell her mother and that nothing had happened. Clearly, her mother didn't know. She had over-exaggerated her discomfort, she said. She redacted her allegation, and I had it all on WhatsApp. The reason behind the allegation was that P had a crush on my son's best friend. She didn't want to admit that she had made out with my son, as that would look bad for her. So she created a story that she hadn't wanted to be touched and had been sexually assaulted by my son. An allegation does not need to go to the courts to destroy the person accused and their families. This is what you need to understand. Mothers are unaware of how vulnerable our young men are. This is happening far more than anyone admits. False accusations is a weapon. No amount of consent can change the story, as she will always be believed. I've been documenting false allegations, and one thing everyone needs to know, you cannot unstick a label. The community will never forget what was said. It will always be associated to the person accused, even if the allegation is redacted. So what do? We share stories like mine, we offer support to other families, and we protect our sons. Thank you. I hope that you're able to share the story with other families.
Thank you, Odette. We will. Our next speaker is Mike Bell from the UK. He's from near Cambridge in the UK, and his title of his presentation is Creating All-Party Groups in the UK Parliament to Promote Effective Change. He'll focus on education, which is item number 1 on our website, men's health, which is item 2, and family separation, which is like parenting, item number 6. Mike has helped start 2 all-party groups in the UK, one on men and boys issues and the other on family separation. The groups have produced a number of reports on men's health, male suicide, boys' education, and the family separation process. Mike will outline some of the successes they have achieved along with lessons learned about effective close engagement with government. Let's make sure we have screen share on for Mike. And Mike, please begin.
Thank you very much. Hopefully you're seeing my screen now.
Yes.
Okay, I just need to move a few things around. So I'm talking about constructive engagement in the UK Parliament. Go on. Come on, slides, you can go. So the most important message is we're using existing channels. We're not doing external campaigning, trying to persuade people from the outside. We're getting involved in things like this APPG, which I'll explain in a minute, parliamentary questions, getting members of our group to ask official questions and demand for which the minister is required to answer. We promote minor debates in both the houses. They have particular ways where you can debate a particular issue for, say, an hour. And we take part in consultations. So talking about some of the work in the APPG for men and boys, this is an all-party parliamentary group. And it's a voluntary group of members of the Houses of Lords and Commons. It's not an official part of the government process. However, for example, if the chair is speaking to the minister, this has more weight than the individual MP or an external group trying to speak to the minister. And as you'll see, once we start to get the discussion going, unexpected things happen. So as Larry says, we're covering many of the areas which he mentioned at the beginning, not all at once, and we're looking at the first 3 of those just in this quick presentation today. So we've held these inquiries, as Larry mentioned. So we're looking at the outcomes for the men's health strategy. The message which we got from this is that there's far too much victim blaming. That is, there's far too much of why don't men seek health services like women do, then they would have better health. But what we found, among other things, is that men do seek help, do seek the services when they're offered where, when, and how men access them. For instance, men are much more reluctant than women to take time off work, so that if you offer the services out of hours or near their workplace, men do access them just as much as women. And the real teller is that at retirement, the statistics are clear, men access health services just as often as women. If we look at male suicide, again, we see the same myth being perpetrated. There are even National Health Service posters saying men should talk more. This again is victim blaming. It's not trying to understand why men are wanting to kill themselves. It's blaming men for wanting to kill themselves. And what we found is that men do talk when the services are offered, where, when, and how men do. And an example we had was from Andy's Man Club in the UK. This is a relatively new organisation, but it has exponential growth because of the way that they're offering their services. They're not offering men to come into the room and sit down with one person and some smelly candles and be asked how they are. They meet as a group, and the way that the meeting is organised clearly chimes with men's psychology. The latest piece of work we've done is on boys' educational underachievement, which, as people probably know, is almost universal. Certainly it's universal in the Anglosphere. And boys are underachieving, at every age and stage of their education. They're arriving at primary school with poorer language skills, and they are going to university less often than women and dropping out more frequently. But again, we get the same problem, that many of the people looking at this issue, and we looked at a lot of research on this, much of it is basically blaming the boys for not being like the girls. However, we found 4 schools and then 2 later that had closed the gap for their boys. And one of the important issues was that it did not try to make it boy-friendly. What they did was they discovered, by visiting the classrooms and observing what was happening, is that the adults were treating the boys differently, and that the boys' behavior and low achievement is a result of the different treatment. For instance, boys are given punishments more readily than girls, but are also praised for lower standards of work than the girls. When these things are corrected, the boys achieve the same as the girls. Let's look at the 4 areas where the correction was put. Firstly, they recognized that it was a whole school culture. They just need to make it fair for the boys, for instance, by celebrating achievements of both sexes in all subjects. Secondly, they worked heavily on relationships, both between the teachers and the pupil, and between the school and the home, because once they engaged the parents, they found their efforts were twice as effective. Thirdly, boosting literacy. Many schools have interventions with pupils when they first arrive at secondary school, but in fact, only a small minority of special needs pupils actually get help. And what these schools found is that if they intervened with a larger number of pupils, mostly boys, they found that one of the main reasons the students were failing is because they didn't have the language to access the curriculum. And finally, what they needed was a rewards and consequences system, which was not so much strict as characterized by certainty and consistency. So everybody knows where they are, and the teachers know that they're going to be backed up by the senior management. And what we found is that any schools can do it. It didn't require any more money. So there's a really important question: why is it not happening? So what we achieved, some of the things we achieved is select committees. Select committees are official parts of the government process, and as a result of us doing our reports, the Select Committee on Health did a inquiry into men's health, and the Select Committee on Education did an inquiry into boys' education. And we were making some progress before the election was called, unfortunately. The Minister for Health had set up what she called a task and finish group. She found that it didn't need her to spend ages and ages setting up a men's health strategy, which might take several years. There were some things which could be done straight away, and they were getting active on that. The other thing we can mark is a significant tone regarding men and boys issues in the UK Parliament. For instance, when the debate on International Men's Day, which has taken place every year for the last 7 years, was first in place, the proposers of it received quite a lot of negative response from some parts of the House and some flack on social media. But in the last year, for instance, more speakers at that debate were female, and there were no hostile speeches at all. So in our conclusion, although the system is not proactive on male issues, what we found is by constructively engaging with the system, we can produce results. Thank you very much.
And in closing, I want to thank all our speakers, and of course, not only the speakers for their insightful and powerful presentations, but all of you joining us today. We've heard about the critical issues facing men and boys. We've heard about education, health, the boy crisis, false allegations, parenting, partner abuse, and more. These are not only important topics, but urgent. As we conclude, I would like to remind everyone that November is Men's Equality Month. It's a time for all of us to come together, raise awareness, and advocate for change that addresses the disadvantages faced by men and boys. Please visit our website, menandboys.net, sign up for notifications, and stay tuned for updates on our upcoming events and initiatives. Together, we can make a difference and work towards a future of true sex equality. Thank you for all your support and for joining us today.